So, joining the podcast today is our good friend, Kat. Kat, future mistress of the universe is her official title.
Yes.
Welcome, Kat.
How
Thank
you
you.
doing,
Thank
Matt?
you for having me.
Oh, we're happy to have you. So, we've got so much to talk about.
We have quite a few questions for you, future mistress. If you're going to be ruling the universe, maybe we should figure out a few things about you beforehand.
So why don't you begin? Why don't you introduce yourself to us a little bit? Tell us a little about your background. What kind of what got you into D&D? How'd you first get into it? What else you're interested in? Because I know, feel free to talk about LARPing because I know that's a favorite pastime of yours. So tell us what's your introduction to Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, my introduction to D&D was way back in the day when uh was with AD&D.
Wow, AD&D. Okay.
Yes.
That's
That was
official
back
second, right? Second edition officially?
second edition.
Yeah.
Yes. So I played that was when I was in middle school. Um so I
Nice.
did some D&D back then.
Mhm.
Um with second edition and then didn't really play any of third or fourth edition. But then was really happy to jump back in with fifth because I was feeling the itch again. Um, so some of the other things that I do, you mentioned LARPing. I
Mhm.
do
Yes.
love to LARP. I sew, I make costumes, I'm into cosplay, conventions, all sorts of nerdy fandom stuff. Um, and I'm a math teacher.
How exciting. So let me ask this question because I've never asked you this before. So what has been your favorite cosplay that you have done, or do you have some particular favorites that you like to do?
Yes, I have my very favorite is Lady Tsunade, who's a character from the Naruto
Hmm.
series. And she's my favorite because she's the Hokage, which is like the boss of the village.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Not a lot of people cosplay her, so I don't usually run into myself. A lot of people like her,
Right.
and most people who know her will listen to her. So I can run around and boss people around.
Ooh, nice.
She's practicing for that future ruler of the universe already.
That's right.
Are you sensing a theme?
All right, I'm picking it up.
Nah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But yeah, that's a really fun one. Yeah.
Awesome. So how long have you been playing 5e now? D&D 5e, the latest edition of D&D.
Um, and Joe, maybe you can help me out here. I want to say it's about 3 years.
2019.
Oh my
We
God.
we were hip before everybody else because we were playing online before everybody was doing it because of the pandemic. But we started. I started in March of 19, and I think you were started like at the end of March of 19 because my friend Joe was going to play and then he bailed, and then I was like, oh, I gotta call Cat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, 4 years. Wow. Okay. Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely, it's definitely fun.
So what was your so when we started playing 4 years ago? So what was your first or do you remember the characters that you played back in middle school, or should we start 4 years ago with your first 5e character?
I could tell you a little bit about my favorite character. I remember one character that I
All right.
played in middle
Cool.
school because they were my favorite. So I remember the name of my favorite character was Calphalon,
Oh, all right. Cool.
like the name of the company that makes cookware
Yeah.
because I was into cooking in middle school.
Who isn't?
That works.
Sure. That's
That
totally normal,
we
right?
draw on our experiences when we create our characters, so
Right.
that makes perfect sense.
And I don't remember a whole lot, but they were a thief mage, neither of which is a thing in 5e.
I think the closest would be a rogue arcane trickster based upon what you just said.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so I don't remember a whole lot about Calphalon.
It's amazing how those
Yeah,
things stick though,
yes.
or not, or non-stick.
I was just going to say it's probably supposed to be sticking.
Uh,
Wow.
well done, well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you.
That's some low hanging fruit there. I'm
Hey,
sorry. You can take them, though. You know.
that's when I'm playing a dwarf now, so the low hanging fruit is about all I can hit.
Oh, nice. But yeah, 5e, it was a long time ago. Let's
Yeah.
focus on 5e.
Let's talk 5e. So what did we play first? Was it the Mines of Fandelver?
That's correct.
So we
Yeah.
played the Mines of Fandelver. So talk about the character or yes, Joe.
I just have to remind everybody. Well, they won't know this, but I have to remind you and Kat about you as Fiang with your threes, constantly rolling threes on your magic missile dice.
That's all right. Hey, I've definitely improved. I don't know what dice I was rolling with back then, but
You got
I've
updated your dice.
upgraded. I've upgraded my dice that are
So
guaranteed
so
to roll
was
high.
so Andrew, was all that three rolling the beginning of your dice goblin hood?
It is. So I have. So you can because we're on camera, so you can see this. So this is. I got this at Terrificon. This is a my current bag of holding for all of my dice. It's a glow in the dark gelatinous cube bag, but this holds like all the common dice that I have. But then I've got like all my special dice.
So the
That
first set of dice that I gave you is in there.
probably somewhere in that bag. Yes, but yeah,
Sure.
that was the beginning of the end for me.
He's holding it up. It's got to be at least the size of a dresser.
Yes, exactly. It's massive.
Massive.
It has casters. It rolls.
You
It's
got
pretty big.
those of you listening. You got to think about the old ball pits that they used to have at McDonald's. Except picture really tiny, tiny polyhedral dice that you have to jump into. All those little D8s and D4s are all poking you all over the place. By the way, D4 makes a great cow trip.
Yes. Yes, they
Mhm.
do. You would not want to step on those for sure.
No. Let's focus back on you, Kat, since this is an interview with Kat, not me.
Hmm.
But thank you. So let's talk about your minds of Fandelver character. So who refresh my memory because I have a terrible memory. So talk about who was your first character when we started playing.
All right. So for that one, I made Zalana Faira was her name.
All right.
And she was a wood elf ranger.
Nice. Okay. Nice combo.
Yeah, I prefer to think of it as classic rather than cliche.
It's just such a more cultured term than
Well, I like it. It's a great combo.
Oh yeah.
I think we've already been talking about the elves and fighters. So we've covered those already on the podcast. So I think it really is a solid combination if you're looking to maximize the stats on some of the features, the racial features that the wood elf has. So that's a great combination. So what so so was there any inspiration to this character or how did you come up with Zalana, right? I want to make sure I get that.
Zalana,
Zalana.
yes.
How did you come up with that? What was your process?
With the name?
With the name, with the character, with the picking the race and the class, etc. How did you develop that character?
Gotcha. Well, the name was fantasy name generator.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that works.
Great tool for names.
Yes, love it. And what I usually do is I'll go through and I'll make a list of first names, I'll make a list of last names, and then I'll just see what I like that goes
Hmm.
together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's often how I'll pick my character names.
Nice. That works.
Um, and then for the character itself, it was definitely, and hear me out,
Okay.
it was a Lord of the Rings inspiration, but it wasn't Legolas. Yes, I was an elf that shot a bow.
Right.
However, I mean, Legolas is fine, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm not
Nothing wrong
necessarily
with
a
it.
big Legolas girl.
Okay.
Really what I was going for, I really wanted to have that confidence of Aragorn.
Hmm.
Um, I did want to have the be a great woodsman, and
Hmm.
obviously I was an archer
Right.
like Legolas, but um I really wanted to be, a fighter as well, like Gimli, but I also wanted to be a little bit unexpected,
Hmm.
um, a little bit of a little naughty, cause a little trouble here and there, a little
You
peregrine tookish.
Hmm.
look around in
Hmm.
the shadows a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
yeah, so I didn't have inspiration from just one character, but there was a whole lot of Lord of the Rings inspiration going on in there. But I
Was there
really felt like it was more of, from my point of view, more of an Aragorn inspiration, even though it was an elf with a bow.
so I'm just thinking back to the way that that campaign went, and I was wondering, did you intend to make your character tied to nature, specifically animals? Or was that just something that developed throughout the campaign? Because was that something you were thinking of as a ranger?
I think the animal thing came out because of my own personality.
That wasn't something you predetermined into your character. And
No,
that's something we've been trying to say on the podcast too, is like you create your character however you want. It's going to change a little bit as you play it. That's how it's going to be. You
right.
come out in everything that you make.
Hmm.
You can't help but kind of
Personalized.
infuse yourself into the character to some extent. I think it's just natural.
Right.
Right. Because I didn't necessarily lean into like a Beastmaster Ranger.
Right.
Right.
She took the hunter,
Yep.
Hmm.
but me, being the animal lover and the former animal trainer, literally,
Yeah.
former animal keeper, animal trainer, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
do what I'm gonna do.
That's right.
If you present me an animal, I'm probably gonna try and feed it.
And you've done so many times in that campaign.
And
So
not even just animals. I will harken back to, I believe it was a nothic
Yep.
that you befriended.
Barry,
She she had
What,
the.
what was the nothic's name?
Barry,
Barry the Nothic.
I think that was.
Barry
She
the
had the great idea
nothic.
to feed it the dead bodies of all the people you
Yeah.
killed.
Yes,
And then
yes.
she wanted to protect the owl bear, so the owl bear was released instead of having a fairly tough combat against the owl bear. I think she was the first one that tried to feed the wolves in the
He
early
fed the
cave.
wolves.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean
Yep.
that's just you and who you are, and
Well, remember, I think it was Curse of Strahd that we were playing. I mean, we had like the undead cats. Like we had like a menagerie of
We
animals
did.
we
following us.
had an actual menagerie in that
There,
one
there was
of living and undead animals.
there was cats, there was a monkey, there
Amazing.
was hellhounds, there was an axe beak. I mean, the list just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I actually had very little to do with that
No,
collecting of animals. I
that's
did
That was
not have.
true.
true.
That's true.
I think you were an inspiration to us all, though. I think it just naturally came that way. We can't help but love and care for animals, both living and undead.
Well, see, it worked out so well in Fandelver.
It certainly did. Now they've got a new Fandelver adventure coming out.
I've been looking into that a little bit. I haven't gotten much details on it yet.
I'm thinking
I
I
can't
really want
wait.
to play that. What is it? What's the
Yes.
name of it again?
I don't know, underneath or something like that.
Underneath the obelisk. There's
Yeah.
something about an obelisk in the.
You gonna run it or do you want to play it? You don't want to run it. You want me to run it.
I'd run it. Like Strixhaven, when I tried running Strixhaven, that was very complicated because there wasn't a lot.
Strixhaven was a social adventure that was really meant to be played by people around the table.
Yeah,
And we like that would have worked a lot better.
that
Mm.
would have been a great in person one,
Yeah.
Strixhaven. But
Hmm.
I would happily run the new Fandelver campaign.
When's it come out?
Oh.
I believe it's coming out. Okay, now
Now we're gonna look this
we're
up
gonna look this up.
because if you're really gonna do that, maybe you can do it after we finish the dragons, Tyranny of
All right,
Dragons.
let's go to source books.
I'm very excited about a Fandelver extension.
Are you?
Fan. Oh, here it is. Fandelver and Below the Shattered Obelisk.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Available September 9th, where books are sold.
19th.
19th.
Okay.
September
That's pretty
19th.
soon.
So it's only a few weeks away.
So the real question is, it's levels 1 through 12. So would you recreate your character or would you make a new one, Cat?
Oh.
So the idea of recreating your character is theoretically you would be downgrading your character back to level 1 because this is an adventure for level 1 to 12.
Ooh.
That's something to think about, something to marinate.
Get the gang back together again?
Yeah, but that would be really interesting. Then what would I do? Would I pick up Fiang and try to play Fiang?
I don't know. There's so many options.
Well, we also have 2 new players in that campaign,
That's true.
so I think we'd just get new characters.
As long as it's not Darwin.
That's when somebody interviews me. We're not going to get into my grotesque, hideous
we-
creature.
We spent plenty of time talking about me, Joe. So we've talked about
We've
this.
talked about this
We've
already.
talked
Go ahead.
about the hideous touching. Joe went on about touching everything and what the consequences of that were.
However, I could convince anybody to do anything for me because I was that charismatic by the time I was done with it. I was really overpowered in that manner. Maybe my visual appearance, but I did walk around in a cloak and get a little deodorant for the odor that was coming off. No, man, I could run the entire. I could be the emperor.
I don't think there's enough Axe body spray in the world that would cover up that odor.
But I could have been the emperor in Star Wars. I mean, he has all that power, and he's just in that shroud, so nobody sees him.
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I know, right?
Anyway,
Anyway,
so what about your backstory, Kat? What was the inspiration for your backstory, or was it just something you kind of searched around for ideas, or just something you plucked completely out of your head?
Yeah, I just cobbled something together that seemed to make sense. Hello, Leo.
There's our Leo.
here it comes, and there it
There it
is.
So for those of you who don't know, we play every Monday and Tuesday night. Cat plays in the Tuesday night campaign, and Leo always makes an appearance, and he always gives us a little cat butt.
Never lets us down.
Nope. So for the backstory, I'm not, for people that are into backstories, that's great. That's not me. I just put together enough to get me going. She was a folk hero. I don't remember the details now. I had some, but I don't remember them anymore. And her sister was killed, and I was out to avenge her.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Oh, the rest is a little murky.
Which was always really interesting because I think you ended up taking the stone crafter or the gem crafter.
Yeah, jeweler.
The jeweler, like what was that? That was one of the folk hero, right? The folk hero could be the jeweler.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, it's like, why'd you do this? And I think when we talked about it, you said the jeweler was something to do with your sister, and that's why you became the jeweler or something like that. But I mean, that is 4 years ago.
Right.
I
Right.
think you make a good point though, Kat, that you don't necessarily have to I think I was talking about this when I was interviewing James, talking about you don't necessarily have to have a fully fleshed out backstory at the beginning. It's something that you can write
Yeah.
over the duration of the adventure and build out that backstory as you go. So I think that's a good point for beginning players. You don't need this huge tale of woe or tragedy or whatever. You can start with one or two basic facts and build from there as the story goes on. So I think that's a really good point.
And he even said, just putting a few pieces in together, that's really like gold for the DM, because then they can use that and integrate your character story into the adventure any way that they want. You want to have a detailed backstory, that's great, go for it. But for a DM, like he was saying, you give him like three or four tidbits, forget it. He'll create a whole little scenario for you just for you. You never have to worry about, but I'm one of those people that I have like that little bit of creative spark. So when I start with a backstory, it's at least 2 pages. And I'm like, why couldn't I write papers like this in college?
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. And that's great. That's and sometimes some characters I have this idea and it rolls like with Ray. She had a decent, a decent amount of backstory.
Hmm.
My turtle cleric.
Right.
But most of mine don't. They have enough pieces that I can kind of imagine them. That I can imagine my character in my mind, that I can kind of picture, okay, well, how would this backstory motivate this person? How would they then sound? What would they do? And as long as I have enough to do that,
Hmm.
to role play them and to figure
Hmm.
out what kind of actions they would then take, that's enough for
Yeah.
me.
So with some of your characters, not necessarily just Zalana, but your other characters, what are some of your um, fondest memories of things that have happened throughout the campaigns? Like what's something that stands out to you from all of your campaigning?
Oh, I mean, getting a nothic and
That was huge.
and a manor. I ended up with a manor and a magical sword and a pet nothic and apparently, according to my notes, a goblin as well.
You had a goblin?
What did we
I
name that
guess
goblin?
so.
I came up with a crazy, stupid, simple name for that goblin, and I don't remember what it was. So when you guys went to Cragmaw Keep,
Right.
there was a goblin who the goblin was being bullied by the orcs,
Hmm.
and when you saved him, he decided to try to he gave you some information and stuff like that, and he kind of followed you around like a lost puppy, and she kind of adopted him, and the whole group kind of
Oh,
adopted him, and he kind of followed you around for the rest of the adventure.
we just
And then stayed at my manor
Hmm.
with my nothic, protecting my manor and my nothic for
that's
me.
right. Absolutely.
Yes. See, working on my mistress status.
So there's actually a whole new background story for you, right? So this adventurer comes in, takes over the manor, and helps everybody, get rid of the bad guys. There were a group of ruffians that were inhabiting it, and they bring in this goblin who's like the butler of the whole place. He's taking care of the whole thing, and all of a sudden, people start disappearing. And this one dies, and this one disappears. And the truth of the matter is this goblin's been killing all the the cast-offs of the society of the township, dragging it into the basement of the manor to feed the nothic, so the nothic doesn't go crazy and kill everybody else.
There's so many ways you could go with this. This is now this is I'm thinking of. I'm thinking maybe the start of the second Fan Delver adventure is that Mistress Zolvana summons these adventurers
Yeah.
S-
to the
uh,
mansion. and
Ooh.
sends them on their way. So maybe Zalana, who's been living there this whole time now, is 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 sending them either to their doom or to their glory.
Oh, I
Intentionally.
love that.
Intentionally.
I love when characters come back. Yes, that is great. Now,
We'll definitely have
one
to
of
work
my
on that.
other favorite things from
Yes,
this adventure, Joe, do you remember your first player character death?
If memory serves, that was Rob's Dragonborn drinking himself to death. No?
It was not.
oh,
It was
what
before
was it?
that.
In the
It was in
Fandelver
this.
campaign?
It was in Fandelver.
Who did you change out your character?
I did not. It
I
was
killed a character
you
besides.
killed Kriv.
Oh, I can't help that. Kriv ran into the middle of a combat and he just made him. Do you remember Kriv?
Vaguely. I have the worst memory, so
My 11-year-old son's character.
oh my God, that's right.
And
Joe.
everybody was yelling at me, but like, what was I supposed to do? I mean, the mechanics of the game said that he ran into the middle of a room of enemies and everybody started whacking at him.
Joe's first character death was my 11-year-old son.
Probably
Wow.
scarred him for life now. He probably hates my guts now. He probably sits there and says, "You're going to play with that guy? He killed me, Ma. Don't you remember?"
Well,
Child
that'll
death
teach him
is
to
what
build weak characters.
that's right.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I forgot about him.
He should take a little responsibility himself
Yeah,
for this.
so 50-50 here. Maybe I ganged up on him, but you should have toughened up a little bit.
That's right. That's right. You should have had better death saves, kid.
That's right.
Yup. Kriv.
Oh my
Hmm.
God. So looking back, is there anything you do differently with your first character, Zalana? Or would you do anything differently with any of your characters?
Well, I mean, I don't know that there's anything I do differently. There are things
Hmm.
that I know now that
Right.
I would incorporate.
Okay.
Um, sometimes my characters will have a catchphrase. My turtle cleric,
Hmm.
before she cast anything, said, "By the strength of the sun and the moon, I cast blah blah blah."
Right.
So
Right.
she had a catchphrase.
Nice.
Some of my characters have a certain action that they
Hmm.
repeat all the time. I have a
Hmm.
bugbear that likes to sever the heads of his enemies for his god Hugrek. Um, so I would have incorporated something a little more of a certain role-playing aspect like that, which are actually pretty easy. Maybe a particular laugh or,
Hmm.
a particular phrase that she likes, something like that.
Got it.
But
So
I wouldn't have changed anything, just maybe added.
Right.
we did try that, and I think it's partially on me and partially on you guys. Andrew's character was supposed to, and he did it for the first couple of times. Every time he returned to Fandelver, he rolled his dice and he gave away a certain percentage of his money that he got, and
I
he never
remember that.
told anybody about it because that was part of his character backstory. And you were supposed to get drunk every time you went back to town because you were drinking
I
away the
did.
memories of your sister, and like
No, no,
everybody
no, no,
had
no.
something.
I hated town so
Oh,
much.
that's
I
right.
love the woods.
You were, yes.
I just hated being in town so much. I was just so like, oh, we have to be here. I can't stand being here. So I would sneak off. First, I'd
And
have
get
to try and
wasted.
sneak,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then I would roll to see if I got drunk.
And
It's
then I
on my
think
character sheet. Yeah,
I think Steve's was he was supposed to be like I don't remember exactly what his was. I think now that we're talking about it, he was supposed to be like like a Don Juan trying to be a Don Juan type of character.
Don
Like
Juan
he was
cleric.
Yeah, he was constantly trying to hit on Christina's character, and Christina kept rebuffing him as Shava and kept him like, no, go away. And then we went into that one inn, and he rolled a nat one to seduce the wench.
It's
But did
definitely.
anybody like the cleric
I
You
don't.
mean in general?
in general?
I don't think anybody really disliked him.
There was a lot of sexual tension.
Well, they were married in real life,
Well,
so
fair,
But
fair.
there's sexual tension in like every game that we play. You guys bring up everything about sexual tension. We're like a bunch of teenagers. You go and fight like an ice troll in my one shot, and all you guys can do is hit him in the nuts like 50 times.
Well, that's only sexual for some. That's not necessarily sexual for everybody. That's just that's like that. If that's your kink, I mean, I'm not gonna kink shame anybody's character.
Okay, now we're gonna change
absolutely.
this topic now. Let's get back.
I'm just saying. But I have to I have to tell you one thing, both of you. So it was so funny earlier on Monday. So we played Monday night. Earlier on Monday, I posted this video on TikTok about um it was using one of those like CapCut like video like green screen videos of this guy going like everything's okay, it's okay, everything's okay, no, there's not a problem, and the whole thing was like the comment I put on it was I said when you accidentally kill the NPC who had valuable information, and it was weird how that like actually played out that night. Fortunately, the NPC didn't have valuable information, but but
Oh,
but Cat's character Matend like just came in swinging. Eventually, it was just like I've had enough of this, and just like lopped off the head
Well,
of this poor character.
it was a 15, 20-minute conversation. Bill trying to argue that we need to save the guy. Andrew kind of being like going back and forth about what it is. And Kat's just like, what do we need him for? Kill him.
I know. Like I'm over here. Checks alignment. Yeah, chaotic evil. His head's coming off.
It was one of the most satisfying conclusions to a discussion. So a lot of times what
For
happens is
me, it was.
I'm
when,
sure
when,
it was satisfying for you.
when people end up in these monster battles conversations, sometimes the DM will start throwing dice just to scare them, make them think, hey, we got to move and keep going. But then I was sitting there and I was listening to it. And I was just like, this is priceless. Like I'm loving this. And then it started getting a little old, and I was just like, okay. And then Cash was like, no, off with his head. But yes, he did not have any vital information for you. Like the thing that was so suspicious to Bill was why did they put him down in the dragon's cave to help him heal if he was sick? It's like, and I said it twice. I was like, because it's warmer down here.
Well,
It's
he's not
I
useful.
think there's a lot of distrust of the DM. So
I can't help that. I'm perfectly trustworthy. I say exactly what I mean every single time.
not buying it. Not buying it. I'm not buying what you're selling. You're rolling poorly for persuasion right now. I am not buying it.
I can't help it that your insight is not telling you the truth.
I'm rolling poor on insight. You're rolling poor on persuasion. Whatever.
Let's just keep rolling.
That's right. Let's keep on rolling. What other questions do we have? My goodness.
So I'm thinking specifically of Ray here.
Mm.
But I remember you had goal. Did you have goals with any of your other characters that you wanted to accomplish? I remember Ray was like this young teenager who was out there to experience the world, and that group definitely scarred the living crap out of her with some of the things that they said. But anyway, did you have goals with anybody else? Like when you created your character? For them in the story, I mean, not for you personally.
Yes. Yes. Let's see. Maten's was trying to collect a bunch of gold so that he can raise his own army, or horde, or whatever you want to call it, and
Yep.
Go kick some butt, I guess. Something like that.
He was trying
He's
to take
also
back
kind of
his
lazy
tribe.
though, so
Yeah.
see how that works out. Um, let's see. Oh, Petra had a vendetta against undead. So she was out to clear the land of undead and, bring Thor's holiness to the land as a
A
cleric of
worthy
Thor.
cause, a
Oh,
very worthy
absolutely.
cause.
Yes, especially in the land of Strahd.
Yes.
Let's see. Taurus.
Oh, Taurus. Isn't he destined to become trying to become a great musical? Uh,
Yes,
so,
he was a minotaur that had been a pirate or
uh,
something,
go on.
and he up and decided that he was going to become a bard.
Why not?
So he had to learn music, and he was terrible.
And what was your instrument again?
The slide whistle.
And what was your weapon again? Didn't you have like a giant slide
Oh,
whistle that you used to hit people
I
with,
just beat people with my slide whistle,
which was your club? It was
which was a club. Yeah, I just clubbed people with my giant slide whistle.
Nice.
And one of the
That
Yeah.
works.
cool things about being a bard is, you can walk into any place or any environment, street corner, you can play, and if you play well enough or people feel sorry enough for you, they give you some coin. Well, I tweaked it a little bit for her. She could do an intimidation check after she played, and if she scared them people well enough, they'd give her coin anyway.
That's definitely one way to do it.
And who is it? What one of the player characters was in love with your acting? Was it Mike's Dwarf or something like that? It was just like every time you went to play, they were like, "Yeah, you're fantastic. You're fantastic."
It must have been Mike.
It had to be Mike. Yeah, that was Mike, Liz's, and Chris's first adventure into 5e D&D. So that was we played through the Mines of Vendelver again.
Right,
And
right, right.
that was they did it backwards. They went through the whole thing, and then they were supposed to go to Cragmaw Keep, and then to the Echo Wave Caves.
Right.
Well, they found out about the Echo Wave Caves first, so they went to the Echo Wave Caves first, and then went to Cragmaw Castle. So they completed the adventure, and then they went back to finish fighting off the orcs. So they didn't find out about any of these the goblin at all.
How disappointing.
Which goes to show you can run the game however you want, and the people can play the game however they want. So again, we keep talking about how customizable this game is in so many ways.
Yeah. And as somebody that played in that Fandelver as well, the second time it was really fun to kind of do it backwards.
So this kind of leads to a different question. Was there any surprising or unexpected developments of your characters, specifically your first one, but even any of them, that they had some type of change that they went through, or some type of growth that happened to them that altered your perception of them or your play style of them?
Yeah. Well, thinking about Zalana, when I created her, I was really focused on her being, like I said, a bowman, an
Right.
archer.
Hmm.
Um, I took archery as my style, and that was my focus, that was my thing. Um, but then as we were doing the adventure, I found some really badass stuff. Like I found gauntlets of ogre strength.
Ooh.
So I went from having a strength of 12 to having a strength of 19,
Wow.
which isn't going to do you any good with a bow. I
Nope.
also found a +1 sword.
That was the sword of
So,
Transcender Manor. Yeah.
yep.
Interesting.
So,
Those gauntlets remind me of like the Incredible Hulk gloves that people like to wear
yes.
and punch around. That's how I kind of imagine your
Yeah.
character with these giant like green gloves on, just punching
Swinging
punching
that
stuff.
sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. So she started out as very much a ranged
Hmm.
character because
Yeah.
Yeah.
her AC was not great. But then, she ended up being, a lot largely a melee character, but she had great options,
Right.
That's pretty
which was
cool.
nice. Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. How so
Which question? This question?
this question.
This question.
I
Okay.
want to ask you this question. So we've talked a lot about your characters and how they've changed and developed over time. I've been reading this fantastic book about um, how psychologists are using D&D in therapy. How has D&D, what you've played out in D&D, has that had any impact on you personally and 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 your relationship to others, the world? Like has it has it done anything for you in that regard?
Yeah, well, I agree. Yeah, murder hoboing is definitely therapeutic.
Very. I've there have been many times when I've come home from work saying I just can't wait to kill something tonight. Like it's just
Exactly.
yeah.
I always
It,
equate it to back when I would come home from school and I would be pissed off at something, and I'd get my old Super Nintendo out and play Mortal Kombat and just beat the crap out of the characters.
right.
It's the same concept.
Hmm.
There's something
Yeah.
very freeing. Not even just about. It's just about doing something that kind of just lets out all of this anger in a somewhat healthy. If there's a way to kill something in a healthy manner, but just
Yeah.
letting out all of that, all of those things you want to say to your coworkers or your boss or to your kids or to whomever that you can't say to them and put it through your character when faced with a foe that you need to defeat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to figure out how to do it creatively and, maybe if you're good or neutral with the people that you're
Right,
adventuring with,
right,
or if you're evil, however you want. Um, but for me also it led me into LARP because I
right.
probably wouldn't have ended up LARPing
Mm-hmm.
if I weren't already doing role playing in D&D.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in LARPing?
Well, a friend of mine who's also a Star Trek fan, like all
Mm-hmm.
three of us are, is in LARP. And
Okay.
he said, "You know
Cool.
what? Let me just add you to our Facebook group and
Uh-huh.
That's how it starts.
just,
Right.
you know, see what happens." And so after just sitting in the Facebook group, I was like, "Oh, look at all those costumes.
Right.
Oh man, that looks so cool." And then I was like, I could create a character and I could go just be that character in person,
Right.
just like I do on paper. But I love to sew and I could actually make a costume and wear it.
It's like kind of like the best of cosplaying at a con and role playing a character in D&D and kind of putting those two parts together into this real world kind of adventure.
Yes. And when I say I want to hit him with my sword, though, I just whack
You
him with my
do.
little foam sword.
I actually swing my sword at them.
Yeah. And then I get whacked right back.
Exactly. That's
You know?
awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's great because it's a community,
Mhm.
right? LARP is a community of good friends that I've made. So that's been great too.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You have any other questions, Joe?
I just wanted to ask one more thing. One of my things that I love about D&D is the interactions people have with each other as you're playing the game. So, was there any time that your character interacted with another character or your personal interaction with another player uh, really stood out to you in any of the campaigns that you played?
Um, let's see. Taurus's bad jokes stand out because I'm not a bard type.
I remember you went looking those up. You looked up,
Yeah.
you looked up Shakespearean insults.
Yes. Yeah. Um, so those stand out, and then I learned to play the one thing I could play on an actual slide whistle.
There you
The
go.
thing from the what is
New
it, the
life
good, bad, and
skills.
the ugly. Yep. So those stand out.
That's
And then
why
the
I tried being
Christmas
hard,
adventure.
but
Hold on. The Christmas one shot. The
yeah.
Christmas one shot when we all made Joe like cringe, cover his ears. I think that's when he started wearing headphones.
Yes. That was about the time I had to start wearing headphones because it was just a little too much for Mama Dukes to hear.
Achievement unlocked. Yes. That was priceless. That was teamwork at its best.
That reminds me. Did you have you are either of you watchers of Only Murders in the Building?
No, I did not start that one.
No, but that
Oh,
sounds intriguing.
oh, it's fantastic. It's on Hulu. But anyway, so in the latest season, uh, Martin Short's character is putting on a musical. Steve Martin, his character, has to do this song in the musical, and what's happening is when they're rehearsing, apparently there's something what's referred to as the white room. So what a stage actor goes into is the white room. So if they can't remember their lines, instead of in a movie or a TV show when you can do another take, in a live production there's no second take. You're just live.
Yeah.
So they talk about going into this white room. So he starts singing this song, and you start to see him zoning out, and like it cuts to him like in all white in this white room just dancing around, and it cuts back to him, and in like this bizarre scene, and he has no clue what he has just said, but apparently whatever he has just said instead of the lyrics of the song that he couldn't remember are so disturbing. Like all the other people in the room, I just remember the one guy goes, "I need to go call my therapist," and, and steps out of the room, and like I just feel like we just like scarred Joe and potentially his mother for during that one shot, that holiday uh, campaign, because that was just, yeah,
You
that was
know,
something.
I'm going to take this moment to give a little bit of a PSA here. Um, be aware of the group that you're playing with. This is all fun and games and it's all great. Don't say things that may offend the people that you're playing with because when you start going down these things, some people can't take those jokes, some people can't take those concepts, so you got to be a little careful about that so that you don't disrupt the party and the game in and of itself. Now I didn't have any problem with it. It was all good fun, and yeah, I put the headphones on and didn't bother mom anymore. But like, just be careful when you're making these jokes and stuff like that. Make sure everybody in your party is going to be okay with it. And it's an extreme example, but I was reading a story one time about a guy who's doing a homebrew, and he didn't warn his players that one of the victims that they were helping had survived an assault. And when he described the assault, he was very detailed because he was trying to give descriptions of the attacker and everything came around, and one of the players kind of had like a moment where they're like, I gotta go, and it was traumatic for them. I hesitate to use the word, but it triggered something for them, and these are these moments where you have to know your audience when you're doing it as a DM, when you're doing it as a player. I mean, we've been so vulgar for the last 4 years that I don't think there's anything that would really cause any of us to not have an issue. But if you're going into a new game, especially
Challenge accepted.
what am I doing? If you're going into a game that is either with new people in it or you are a new person and your personality has these types of quirks, make sure that you're aware and you're either limiting yourself to until you get the temperature of the room, or limit yourself so you don't cross any borders for anybody.
I think
Or ask if there was any established boundaries. Hey,
That's fantastic.
what is everybody's comfort level with this?
right.
With that, spell things out.
I'm making it official now. No more repeated shots, nuts of a character or a creature. I'm no longer comfortable with that.
So no repeated shots, but single shots are okay.
One shot at a beach, but if I see
Okay.
two people hit it in the same row, that's it. You guys are dead.
Okay.
Rock
So we've
scroll
got
and
to
you
be
die.
every other person.
That's right. That's right. Only one person per round.
Yep, there you go.
Got
Right.
it.
Oh,
But
wait. But so I can get them on my first attack, but not my second. And
That's
then
correct.
you.
Your second
Okay,
attack, you have
great.
to target a different part of the body.
This
correct.
is very specific,
I am, because it triggers
but
me.
okay. All right. But I respect your wishes.
I think you bring up a really good point about when someone is looking to join a party
Mm-hmm.
to understand what the dynamics of the party are going to be. And I think it's good for both a DM to kind of establish some of those ground rules.
Yeah.
Like and as a player, not every table, not every party, not every group is the same.
Mhm.
So you may want to, if you've got concerns, you may want to make sure maybe it's an LGBTQ friendly table. Maybe there's no discussion of politics or religion. Maybe if the DM is going to talk about a triggering topic, make sure
Give a heads up or
give a heads
figure out
up
how
saying
to
this
do
is
it. Yeah.
exactly.
You're absolutely right.
So I think laying, not necessarily laying the ground rules all at the beginning, but I think understanding what you're getting yourself into to be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I don't want to get involved with. So I think as you're establishing getting into
Yeah.
a group of people, kind of establishing some of those ground rules is really important.
And if you're new to the game, the first thing I would suggest is going to the DM, asking them, do you have a limit, sir? Is there something going on here? And then if there isn't, explaining to them, here, this is where I'm at. And they will hopefully modify themselves if there's anything that they're doing beyond it.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that's probably about our time.
I think so. And
I
I think
think
we
so.
covered everything. I mean, did you have anything you wanted to add real quick?
Yes, Kat. Do you have any parting thoughts or ideas or anything that's on your mind?
Wisdom from the future mistress of the universe?
I.
Get in line now.
Hey, I'm first. I'm first. I want to be first when she's become the future mistress.
That's right.
I just think D&D is a great place to try out some different roles, characters, personalities, different ways to play.
Yep.
And it's a lot of fun and can be tremendously great stress relief. So have
For
fun.
sure.
Have fun with it. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
However
you
that
really
looks for you.
Right.
And you've really done that with Ray, the bubbly 18-year-old looking to explore everything. And then
Oh, she was 11.
oh, she was 11. I'm sorry.
She was
Yeah.
11
And
because Tortle.
Matens, I'm just going to kill everything. I mean, you've really run the gambit of all the different types of it, and that's why this is a great conversation to have with you, because you've hit them all.
Yes. Yes, I've gone from super lawful good to very much chaotic evil. Yes.
I'd like to see some more chaos and more evil from Matens personally.
Ah, coming up.
I would actually like that very
Be
much.
careful what you wish for.
I'm completely serious because remember Thoradin is over 250. He won't give his exact age. He's over 250 years old. So he's seen some stuff, and I think I'm just getting too old for this shit. Is going to be his line throughout the campaign, but I'm looking forward to seeing some chaos and some evil.
I
So
mean,
you want to see more of her just executing people randomly as
you're
everybody's.
lucky. I mean, the party's lucky he's lazy, or
Right.
else there would be a lot more trouble. I don't even know what our paladin would do with himself if Matens weren't so lazy.
I
But
only
Can you imagine, Bill? You got to see Toma trying to restrain Matens as Matens is about to go off on a killing spree on a bunch of civilians.
I only wish I only wish that Maten's penchant for cutting off heads was maybe a different body part. Um, so we could still
So
question them.
crude.
No, I'm not. I didn't say what body part. Jeez, Joe, get your mind out of the gutter. I'm thinking legs and arms, hands,
right?
feet. So we could question them, and you could still get what you wanted, and then we could still get what we wanted out of questioning the NPC.
But Hugh
So
Greg only wants heads.
I understand,
Sorry.
and that's why I'm saying I wish it had been some other appendage, but if it has to be the head, it has to be the head.
Yeah, I mean, a severed leg is so much less threatening.
Agreed. But they're
And they,
they're much more likely to talk with while missing a leg than they're not going to talk at all if they're missing a head.
I mean, not necessarily you hang those heads up at night. I mean, power of Hugrek.
What would be amazing would be your character also as a necromancer to make the heads talk afterward.
So actually,
That would be super cool.
I think you have the ability to pray to Hubrick and have one of the heads talk. Now that would be funny. You killed this guy. You bring up his head later on and ask Hubrick to make his head talk, and then his head talks, and you find out he really was worthless. After
Correct.
all that argument, and Hubrick says, "See, told you, worthless."
Correct. And bugbears you will I believe typically like you put the head around the campsite as an alarm.
I forgot about that part. Yeah, when they have like a permanent settlement to go around and kill these things, and then they stick them around, and then the magic of Hubrick will allow them to act as like they scream out. I think it was.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
I love that idea. I'm all
Right?
for that.
I think we
Oh,
now know what his next character is going to be.
Hugrek is good. Yes.
Well, because it reminds me of Honor Among Thieves when he's got the thing where he can touch the dead person, ask him 5 questions,
Hmm.
and then they die permanently.
That was only 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Somebody asked me a question. Oh, well, there's more in store in this campaign, Andrew.
I'm looking forward to it very very much.
I'm so glad. I'm
Yeah.
so glad. All
Yes.
right.
I really want to see what happens with Toma when the future of Hugrick comes out now. Not Hugrick, sorry. The future of Matens comes out now.
Yes.
I really want to see how he's going to react to this.
We shall see. Should be fun.
Plots and schemes, plots and schemes.
That's right.
Well, I think that covers just about
I
everything.
think it does. Thank you so much, Kat, for joining us for this fantastic episode of Legends, Loot, and Lore. It's been a great conversation talking about characters, character creation, and LARPing. And
LARPing.
yeah, we threw in just a little, not I don't think enough, but we threw in a little bit of Star Trek. So we mentioned Star Trek in there. So next time we'll have to talk more about that. But again, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat.
Absolutely. Always great talking with you guys.